Hello, fellow students, faculty, and guests. My name is Nicole Ray, and I'm thrilled to have you here today as I get the opportunity to talk about my practicum experience. In the spirit of respect, reciprocity, and truth, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the traditional and ancestral territory of the Blackfoot Confederacy on which I am learning, working, and living on today. I want to pay respect to the Blackfoot people, past, present, and future, while recognizing and respecting their cultural heritage, beliefs, and relationship to the land. As an uninvited settler, I pledge my unwavering commitment to fighting against the oppressive systems that have stripped Indigenous communities of their rightful ownership and self-governance. So my practicum experience was at Honoring Traditions and Reconciliation Society. They are an Indigenous-led nonprofit organization that exists to educate, bring awareness, and build relationships in order to promote reconciliation, allyship, and health and wellness in Lethbridge and area. So it has been my privilege to be part of the organization during my practicum, with Cindy Black as my practicum supervisor. Guided by Blackfoot elders, Honoring Traditions and Reconciliation Society provides professional development opportunities like teepee camps, campfire conversations, teaching on history and decolonization, and traditional health and wellness. They also hold community events focused on relationship building and education like powwows. My role at Honoring Traditions and Reconciliation Society started out primarily with me focusing on two different areas. The first was gaining knowledge of culture and ceremony. I had the opportunity to attend a sweat lodge, powwow, and buffalo harvest during my time with the society. These have been great opportunities for me to step outside of my comfort zone and assess my social location and privilege in a way that I had not had the opportunity to do before. The second area that I focused on was grant writing, because my career has been based in the nonprofit sector as a fundraiser and philanthropy strategist. It was one area that I felt like I could bring a lot of value to the society. In total, I wrote 8 grants for the society that focus mainly on the powwow event that they are planning to hold in September. One of the very first grant proposals that I had wrote was with partnership with Lethbridge, Alberta Health Services Addiction and Mental Health Outreach. So the grant was for sustainable community projects that seek to address mental wellness and addiction amongst Indigenous populations. In late February, the society was notified that they had been awarded a grant for $185,000 for a 24-month medicine within project. So this new reality really drastically changed the rest of my practicum, as my main role now became implementing a project management strategy to facilitate this Alberta Health Services grant. The Medicine Within program offers culturally safe moment-in-time care for those in the community that are stigmatized due to their addictions, lack of housing, and/or mental health challenges. Honoring Traditions and Reconciliation Society, they host the events with the consultation of elders and knowledge keepers to ensure a land-based traditional healing approach is available. And then Alberta Health Services, they provide the clinical component of this regarding harm reduction, prevention, early interventions, treatments, and referrals to wraparound services. The program has 6 projects that are offered. The Spirit Cafe and the Campfire Conversations are drop-in events that clients can come, enjoy some food and beverages, and hear elder teaching, drumming, and dancing while accessing wraparound services. Also throughout the year, elders and knowledge keepers will lead medicine gathering events and Blackfoot community yoga. The society will also facilitate cultural safety professional development events that will be offered to addiction and recovery workers. And then lastly, each week, an Indigenous arts program is held at community organizations to offer clients the opportunity to connect around traditional and contemporary art forms. I think one of the main reasons that this practicum placement was one of my first choices was because of the shared values that both the society and I have. Because my focus is on Indigenous health, I really wanted to spend my practicum time in an Indigenous-led organization learning about Indigenous knowledge. I felt that my time with the PHSP program equipped me well in understanding the value and the validity of Indigenous epistemology. So entering my practicum with these values already embedded, allowed me to participate in my practicum with respect and acknowledgement for the strength of Indigenous ways of knowing and self-determination. It also was crucial in the success of the Alberta Health Services grant, since the objective of the grant was to encourage collaboration and partnership within both a holistic and Western approach. The fact that I had some understanding of both knowledge systems made a huge difference in my ability to articulate the proposal. As I sought to learn how to improve health inequities in the community, two things became very evident to me. The first was that addiction is a product of disconnection. And the second was that connection or reconnection was the first step in recovery. I've become a firm believer that this is true for all people, but for Indigenous people, this specifically is important when it comes to culture, ceremony, relationships, and the land. This has been the most meaningful part of my practicum, to watch Indigenous people connect to their identity and see the power in traditional healing. When it comes to the calls to action, the 57th call is the one that resonates with me the most. It calls for the public sector to require skill-based training in intercultural competencies, conflict resolution, human rights, and anti-racism. The systemic racism that is present in Canadian institutions is pervasive, and the death of Joyce Estrachan is a tragic example of why it is essential that the Government of Canada follow through on implementing the action. My desire is to see this call of action extend into all sectors, not just the public sector. As a PHSP graduate, I will ensure that the organization that I lead will require mandatory training in intercultural competencies, conflict resolution, human rights, and anti-racism. I would like to use the PHSP model of incorporating cultural safety and decolonization teaching into all aspects of what we do. This will incorporate the calls to action into the ethos of who we are, and not just something that we check off of a list. The second way that I would like to operationalize the 57th call to action is to ensure that I personally maintain ongoing professional development in this area. As a leader of an organization, I believe I need to model the importance of cultural competencies and be an advocate for fighting against systemic racism. I couldn't have asked for a better practicum experience. First and foremost, I had the opportunity to work on a multidisciplinary team that allowed me to collaborate and learn from a diverse group of individuals. This was a rich experience that I'm so grateful for. I think the three biggest insights that I took away from my practicum were the power of traditional healing, the need for settler education, and the challenges that Indigenous organizations face in colonial systems. Being able to participate in meaningful activities like the Buffalo Harvest, the Sweat, Powwow, and learning from elders, knowledge keepers, and other Indigenous leaders has strengthened my appreciation for the importance of incorporating interconnectedness and balance and harmony between spiritual, emotional, physical, and mental aspects of self. This reconnection is critical to the healing of Indigenous communities. The second insight I gained was the challenges that Indigenous organizations have in working out their mission in settler colonial systems. Research, reporting, and legal agreements like insurance and grant contracts don't always make room for Indigenous knowledge and ways of being. This lack of understanding is robbing sectors from the knowledge and skills that Indigenous organizations can bring to changing systems. And alongside of that is the significant role that settler education plays in breaking down the systemic racism and discrimination that exists in Canada. Going forward, seeing a country that values traditional healing and Indigenous knowledge can only be a reality if non-Indigenous people are moved towards using their power and positions to dismantle systems of oppression. So to conclude, I'd like to thank my practicum supervisor, Cindy Black, and all of my colleagues at Honoring Traditions and Reconciliation. I've learned so much, and I think that I feel like we become friends. And I'd also like to thank my peers and professors for the last 2 years. It really has been a life-changing experience. So now I can take any questions that anybody has.